Ms. Crumbley.
I sit here today to express my deepest sorrow for the families of Hannah, Tate, Madison, Justin, and to all those affected on November 30th, 2021. The gravity and weight this has taken on my heart and soul cannot be expressed into words. Just as I know there is nothing I can say that's going to ease the pain and suffering of the victims and their families. There's a quote I heard that rang true. Grief. For those of you who understand, no explanation is needed. And for those of us who do not, no description is possible. I've taken countless nights of lament over the anguish and shame I carry, knowing what my son did, the harm he caused to innocent lives, the families, and to the entire Oxford community. I pray all the victims are the embodiment of God's mercy and peace, and that He heals your broken spirits. When I was on the stand, I was asked if I would have done anything different. I was horrified to learn my answer I would not have was completely misunderstood. That answer is true because my son did seem so normal. I didn't have a reason to do anything different. This was not something I foresaw. That was the intention of my answer and how I interpreted the question. With the benefit of hindsight and the information I have now, my answer was
Oxford, Michigan, November 30th, 2021. A 15-year-old boy walked into his high school and opened fire, killing 4 of his classmates. Their names were Madison Baldwin, Tate Meyer, Justin Schilling, and Hannah St. Juliana. The shooter was sentenced to life without parole. But this case did not end with him, because for the first time in American history, prosecutors turned to the people who raised him. This is the Commonwealth versus Jennifer and James Crumbley, not the shooter, his parents. Jennifer and James Crumbley were each charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 1 for every student their son killed. The legal theory was unprecedented, that gross negligence, not pulling a trigger, could make a parent criminally responsible for a mass shooting. Prosecutors didn't have to prove they wanted anyone dead. They had to prove the Crumbleys could have stopped it and chose not to. If convicted, each parent faced up to 15 years in prison, 2 separate trials, 2 chances for history to be made. The case turned on a single morning. Just days earlier, the Crumbleys had bought their son a handgun, an early Christmas gift. Then on the morning of the shooting, the school called them in. Their son had drawn disturbing images in class, a gun, a bullet. The words, "Help me." The school recommended counseling within 48 hours. The Crumbleys said no. They did not mention the new gun sitting at home. They did not take their son out of school. They went back to work. Hours later, 4 students were dead.
Based on the gun, on the weapon.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but that has really troubled me from your sentencing memo, because you spent a lot of time talking about the fact that she didn't know anything about the gun. She didn't lock it. She wasn't responsible for it. But at one time, she was texting her husband to see whether or not he got the gun and how much it was. She posted pictures of it as her son's Christmas present. She shot the gun. And I don't know if you're aware of this. I don't know if either side was aware of this, but the first jury determined that there was a claim that the gun was a responsibility solely of defendant James Crumbley. And Mrs. Crumbley testified that when she returned from the range with the shooter on November 27th, it was the defendant James Crumbley who was responsible for the Sig Sauer, retrieved it from the car, and was supposed to keep it safe. The first jury recognized that the GPS admitted in the case shows that even prior to the defendant James Crumbley returning to the house, the shooter was videotaping the unlocked Sig Sauer in the kitchen of the home. So that's not true. That's not true. She also testified that a key to the cable lock was kept in a beer stein in the kitchen, but it's clear that the cable lock was clearly never opened.
Your Honor, first of all, the jury's finding about the timing of the GPS and when the gun video was made is not correct. The evidence at trial did not support that. We know that's not correct. Mrs. Crumbley left the gun in the car so that James Crumbley could put the gun in the house and store it correctly. Mrs. Crumbley, there were multiple cable locks in that house because there was more than one cable lock. There was not just the cable lock that was on the Sig Sauer. There was more than one.
I don't recall that.
There were not more than one found, but whatever Ethan Crumbley did with the cable lock from the Sig Sauer, we don't know.
The gun wasn't locked.
Your Honor,
Court directly. I want to do something that I have never been able to do throughout this time until now. I want to say I can't imagine the pain and agony that for the families that have lost their children and what they're experiencing and what they're going through. As a parent, our biggest fear is losing our child or our children. And to lose a child is unimaginable. My heart is really broken for everybody involved. I understand my words are not going to bring any comfort. I understand that they're not going to relieve any pain. And quite frankly, they probably just don't believe me. However, I really want the families of Madison Baldwin, Hannah St. Juliana, Tate Meyer, Mir, and Justin Schilling to know how truly sorry I am and how devastated I was when I heard what happened to them. I have cried for you and the loss of your children more times than I can count. I know your pain and loss will never go away. Part of you will be missing forever. But please know that I am truly very sorry. I am sorry for your loss as a result of what my son did. I cannot express how much I wish that I had known what was going on with him or what was going to happen. Because I absolutely would have done a lot of things.
Jennifer Crumbley stood trial first. In February 2024, guilty on all 4 counts. She had testified in her own defense. The jury didn't believe her. Weeks later, her husband James faced his own jury. He chose not to testify. Guilty on all 4 counts. 2 parents, 2 juries, the same verdict. At sentencing, Judge Cheryl Matthews did not mince words. These convictions, she said, confirm repeated acts or a lack of acts that could have halted a runaway train. Jennifer and James Crumbley were each sentenced to 10 to 15 years in prison. The first parents in American history held criminally responsible for a mass shooting committed by their own child. The moment justice lands,